When did you discover your perfect marriage was everyone's nightmare? Growing up, I wanted to be just like my mom, even if that meant being sold at 16, bred like livestock, and learning to smile when my husband brought home other women's perfume on his clothes. My mother taught me these things were badges of honor, proof that we were good women who understood our place in the world. She would sit me down at her vanity mirror and brush my hair while telling me stories of my grandmother who raised 14 children from 3 different women her husband kept, and how she never once complained or showed jealousy because that was weakness. When I turned 16, my parents arranged my marriage to a 23-year-old doctor, and I felt chosen, special, and better than my cousins who were matched with farmers and merchants. My mother cried happy tears at the ceremony while whispering in my ear that I was fulfilling my destiny, that my grandmother would be so proud to see me continuing our family's legacy of strength. The wedding night came with pain that made me bite through my lip, but my mother had warned me this was normal, that the blood on the sheets was proof of my purity and worth. My husband was kind compared to what I'd been taught to expect, never raising his hand to me, never forcing himself on me after I got pregnant with twins. Our parents demanded grandchildren immediately, and we complied because that's what good children did. But after 5 encounters that left me sobbing into my pillow, he promised never to touch me again if I didn't want it. I thought this made him the best husband in the world, and I told my mother about his kindness, how lucky I was that he respected my wishes. She smiled and said I was blessed, that most men wouldn't be so understanding. When we moved to Canada after I turned 18, he asked my permission to see other women for his needs, and I granted it proudly, thinking this made me enlightened and mature. My mother had done the same for my father, and my aunts all knew about their husbands' arrangements, so I called my mother to tell her how well I was handling marriage. She praised me for being so wise, for understanding that men had needs wives couldn't always fulfill, that jealousy was a poison that destroyed families. Every Friday night, he would leave after putting our sons to bed, and I would clean the house and feel accomplished like I was winning at being a wife. Then COVID arrived and changed everything. I got so sick I could barely breathe, and for over a month he became someone I'd never seen before. He held my hair when I vomited, changed my sheets when I sweated through them, sang lullabies when the fever made me delirious. One night when the pain was unbearable, he lifted me onto his lap and stroked my hair until I fell asleep, and when I woke up hours later, he was still holding me, his neck cramped from staying in that position. After I recovered, he kept being tender, making me coffee when I looked tired, telling me I was beautiful when I felt ugly, protecting me from men who flirted with me at the grocery store. I fell in love with him completely, desperately, and suddenly those Friday nights became torture. I followed him one night and watched through a hotel window as he touched another woman in ways that made my chest feel like it was caving in. When I got home, I called my mother sobbing, telling her I couldn't do this anymore and I wanted him to stop seeing other women. She called an emergency family meeting, and my aunts and grandmother descended on our house like vultures to a carcass. They sat me down in my living room and took turns sharing their stories, each one more horrible than the last. My grandmother revealed that my grandfather had given her diseases from his other women, but she endured because that was strength. My mother admitted she took sleeping pills every Friday night so she wouldn't hear my father's car leaving, and my aunt showed me her prescription for antidepressants, saying they helped her cope with the Western influence of wanting monogamy. They told me that falling in love with my husband was the real sin, that I was being selfish and weak, that I would destroy my family if I didn't get these foolish ideas out of my head. That night, I couldn't take it anymore and confessed everything to my husband, expecting him to confirm what they said, that I was being difficult and unreasonable. Instead, his face crumpled and he started shaking, revealing the truth that shattered everything I thought I knew. He never wanted other women, felt disgusting after every Friday night, but his father and uncles had literally driven him to that first escort and stayed in the car outside to make sure he went through with it. They told him I would lose respect for him if he didn't prove his masculinity, that good wives expected this, that they'd all been forced the same way when they were young. We held each other on the kitchen floor, two people who had been desperately in love but were convinced by our families that love itself was the enemy. The next morning, I called my mother and told her we were done pretending, done living by rules that turned marriage into misery. She said I was destroying generations of tradition, that I was spitting on my grandmother's sacrifice. I looked at my husband making breakfast for our sons with shaking hands, teaching them to be gentle even while his world was falling apart, and realized she was right about one thing. Growing up, I wanted to be just like my mother. Now I thank God every day that my daughters never will.